welcome to this daily video devotional. Here at Blanc UMC Methodist Church, I wanted to share with you a couple of scriptures that we're going to find in chapter 15 of the Gospel of Luke. Now this is right after a familiar story of the lost sheep, and it's coupled with it, but we're not going to read that one. We're going to read this one about the lost coin. It says this: "What woman, if she owns 10 silver coins and loses one of them, won't light a lamp and sweep the house, searching her home carefully until she finds it? When she finds it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, 'Celebrate with me because I have found my lost coin.' In the same way, I tell you, joy breaks out in the presence of God's angels over one sinner who changes both heart and life." About a week ago, I managed to lose my keys. And it wasn't one of those situations where you lose your keys and then you search around and you happen to find them in your pocket. It was one of those situations where I was looking for my keys for days. It got to the point where my wife Stephanie and I had to switch cars multiple times during the week because I simply could not find my keys. Thankfully, we had a garage door opener, so I could get in the house still if no one else was home, but it's weird not to have your keys. And I searched and I searched and I searched. I looked just about everywhere I could find them. Where did I find them? Underneath and on the side, behind some of the electronics on the driver's side of one of our cars. You see, we have those key fobs that you don't have to turn them or push it in and turn. It just reads that it's there. They fell out of my pants pockets and couldn't find them. It's frustrating to lose your keys, to lose your wallet, to lose anything. But when I found my keys, I came inside and I looked like a warrior coming back victorious from battle. I lifted the keys high in the air and I said, "I got them," as I jangled them and made the sound. My kids cheered and yelled. Meanwhile, despite my joy, Stephanie was just relieved that it was over. Then, of course, being a pastor and a dad, those two joke vectors coming together, I said, "It's like my lost coin parable." And the rolling of eyes in the house became palpable. But I love what happens here in the story of the woman and her lost coin. She has 10 coins, she loses one of them, and she goes into lost key panic. She's searching under every piece of furniture in her home. She's looking underneath rugs. She's looking under tables. She's looking in places that you wouldn't look. Do you ever look for your sunglasses in the freezer? Because you're just certain you've looked everywhere else. It makes just as much sense. She's searching everywhere. And she finally finds it. And she throws a party. She invites people over to her home to party. Now, when we read this, sometimes we kind of picture it and we think, "Oh, that's so sweet. It's so nice." But I think what we're meant to do when we read this is to go, "A party?" I mean, yeah, it was a coin. It was important to her, but a party? In some ways, wouldn't that be like me throwing a party for having found my keys? Maybe isn't quite the response that we would expect. But I think that's just the point of the story. Because Jesus says here, he says, "I tell you, joy like that breaks out in the presence of God's angels over one sinner who changes both heart and life." I wonder how many conversations the disciples had about who it was they were working with, preaching to, healing. Jesus, is it really worth it? There's only a couple of people that have come. Sometimes we get into that habit, don't we? Only 3 people came, it was a failure. It was only half full, nobody came. Kind of reminds me of one of my favorite Yogi Berra quotes. Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. Those two things can't be true. But as we think through this idea, we remember that God is so in love with us that when we walk away, when we sin, when we fall short of God's expectations for us, God mourns that. And God strives deeply for us to come back. And when one sinner comes back to God, God celebrates. In fact, all of heaven celebrates. They have a party. Maybe we think a party is a bit much. God doesn't. God's excited because that coin that was lost is now found. Amen.